Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with me today. If you're watching this, chances are you're ready to embrace a journey that will change the way you see yourself and the world around you. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a new beginning, heart pounding with excitement. That's exactly where I was last summer when I decided to leave my comfort zone in Canada and fly halfway around the globe to Japan at the age of 26. I arrived in Tokyo, wide-eyed and slightly terrified. Everything felt unfamiliar. The signs, the sounds, the food. Sushi stalls gave way to neon-lit streets, and polite bows replaced casual waves. Yet, beneath that initial fear lay a spark, a longing to grow, to learn, to become the best version of myself. And so, I set out on a mission to master English in a country where English was not the mother tongue, to connect with people from diverse backgrounds, and to find my own voice. My first week in Japan taught me humility. I spilled green tea on my sleeve while trying to order in broken Japanese, and I got lost in Shibuya Crossing more times than I can count. Each misstep chipped away at my confidence until I realized something powerful. Mistakes are not failures, they're stepping stones. When I introduced myself to a small cafe owner, Mr. Sato, in hesitant English, he smiled and replied in equally slow English, "Welcome to Tokyo." His kindness ignited something inside me. I wasn't just a tourist, I was a learner, and I had permission to stumble. From that moment, I committed to a daily routine. Every morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. to practice shadowing English podcasts by native speakers. I mimicked their intonation, their rhythm, even their pauses. By day, I volunteered at an international community center in Yokohama, where I met people from Brazil, South Korea, and Ukraine. Sharing stories with Fatima from Brazil, who had lived in Lisbon, and Daria from Ukraine, who once taught English to refugees in Poland, showed me that language bridges cultures more deeply than any translation app ever could. But let me be honest, it wasn't easy. There were nights when I cried in my tiny apartment in Shinjuku because words tumbled out wrong, and I felt invisible. I doubted my decision. I wondered if I was chasing an impossible dream. That's when I stumbled upon a quote by a Japanese philosopher: "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. Those words became my mantra. Each morning, I repeated them aloud in front of the mirror, letting them sink into my bones. One afternoon, as cherry blossoms floated down like soft pink snow, I decided to confront my biggest fear: public speaking. I found a small TEDx-style event in Osaka and signed up to speak about my journey. Standing backstage, heart racing, I almost turned back. But then I thought of everyone who believed in me, my family back in Toronto, my new friends in Tokyo, and most importantly, myself. I stepped onto the stage and began. "Hello, I'm Sarah, and I moved here all the way from Canada to learn English." The first few sentences were shaky. My voice trembled, and my accent felt heavy. But as I shared my story, the routines, the setbacks, the breakthroughs, the audience leaned in. They nodded, they smiled, and when I finished with, "If I can do this, so can you," the room erupted in applause. In that moment, I realized that vulnerability is a superpower. By sharing our struggles, we invite others to share theirs. That night, as I walked through Dotonbori in Osaka, lanterns reflected in the canal, I felt a sense of triumph I'd never known. It wasn't about flawless English or perfect pronunciation. It was about authenticity, courage, and the willingness to learn from every mistake. Over the next 3 months, my confidence soared. I started hosting weekly English conversation meetups in Kobe. Every Saturday, a group of 10 to 15 people would gather at a cozy cafe named Global Grounds. We practiced dialogues, role-played job interviews, and even performed mini-plays in English. Jamie from Spain taught us slang, Amina from Egypt taught us idioms, and I introduced tongue twisters that had us all in fits of laughter. I documented all of this on my YouTube channel, hoping to inspire learners everywhere. I filmed snippets of my routine, morning shadowing by the Kamo River in Kyoto, lunch conversations under the towering skyscrapers of Nagoya, evening study sessions with local students in Fukuoka. Viewers from Vietnam, Mexico, and Germany sent messages saying, "Thank you for showing me that learning English can be fun," or "Your story gave me the courage to speak up in my own class." Meanwhile, I continued refining my approach. I realized that learning a language isn't just about vocabulary and grammar. It's about mindset. So I developed the POWER framework to share with my audience. Perseverance. Commit to a daily habit, even if it's just 5 minutes. Openness. Embrace new experiences, cultures, and mistakes. Willpower. Push through discomfort by focusing on your why. Engagement. Seek conversations with native speakers or fellow learners. Reflection. Review your progress weekly and adjust your methods. One day, at 28 years old, I found myself rewatching my first shaky TEDx talk. I laughed at my mistakes, but I also felt proud of how far I'd come in just a few months. I decided to create a special lessons learned video where I listed my top 10 tips for English learners, from binge-watching English dramas with subtitles to reading simple news articles and summarizing them aloud, to recording yourself and comparing your pronunciation with native speakers. By the time I left Japan, I had over 50 videos on my channel, 10,000 subscribers, and countless messages from people who said I had changed their lives. But more importantly, I had changed mine. I discovered that pushing beyond your comfort zone, especially in a foreign land like Japan, is one of the fastest ways to grow. Now, I'm back home in Canada, and although I no longer hear Japanese announcements on my morning commute, I carry those lessons with me. I still wake up at sunrise for English podcasts. I still chat with international friends online, and I still revisit that memory of applause in Osaka. Whenever I feel stuck, I hear the words, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. So, what's the takeaway? Whether you're in India, the United States, Brazil, or anywhere else, learning English or any new skill requires more than just textbooks. It requires heart. It requires the courage to speak imperfectly. It requires the belief that every small step forward is progress. If you're feeling hesitant right now, ask yourself, what's holding me back? Is it fear of making mistakes? Fear of sounding silly? Remember, every native speaker you admire once sounded exactly like you do now. They practiced, they stumbled, they persevered, and so can you. If you found value in this story, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Share this with a friend who needs a little push, and drop a comment below telling me about your own learning journey. What's your power moment? I can't wait to read your stories. After returning to Canada, I faced a new challenge, reintegrating into a world where English wasn't a novelty, but an expectation. Suddenly, The very language I'd fought so hard to master felt ordinary, and I realized I had to find fresh ways to keep my skills sharp and to give back to the community that had lifted me up. At 29, I enrolled in a local language school as a volunteer tutor. Every Tuesday evening, a group of recent immigrants, families from Syria, students from Nigeria, professionals from Iran gathered in a bright classroom at the community center. Their stories mirrored my own in unexpected ways. The fear of mispronouncing a single word in a job interview, the relief of being understood for the first time, the thrill of making a friend across a language barrier. I designed lessons that blended practical English phrases for grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, job interviews, with immersive activities, storytelling circles, role-play marketplace, games, and real-world practice assignments like ordering coffee at nearby cafes. One day, I arrived to find a new student, Layla, a 32-year-old mother of 2 from Syria. Her shy smile reminded me of my first days in Tokyo. When I asked her to introduce herself in English, she whispered, "My name is Layla. I come Syria." The words stumbled out slowly, eyes cast downward. I knelt beside her, looked into her eyes, and said softly, "Layla, that was beautiful. Would you say it again? But this time, pretend you're telling your favorite story to a friend?" She hesitated, then nodded. On her second attempt, her voice grew stronger. "My name is Layla. I come from Syria. I like to cook." The room erupted in gentle applause. Her posture straightened, and for the first time, I saw pride light her face. Working with Layla and the other students taught me a new layer of the power framework, compassion. It wasn't enough to teach words. I needed to understand each person's journey, to meet them where they were, and to celebrate every milestone. I revised my framework to spell power. Start with empathy. Listen to learners' fears and dreams. Perseverance. Keep daily habits alive, even when progress stalls. Engagement. Use real conversations, not just textbooks. Listen. Encourage learners to tune their ears to natural speech. Leadership. Empower learners to guide each other. One chilly December evening, we organized a cultural exchange fair at the center. Each student prepared a small booth, Syrian sweets, Nigerian fabrics, Iranian calligraphy, and on a corner table, Canadian maple syrup treats. I coached the students in crafting elevator pitches in English. Welcome to my booth. I'm Layla, and today I'm sharing my family's favorite dessert, momo. Their voices rang out with confidence as guests sampled treats and asked questions. I beamed as Layla greeted a visitor with perfect clarity, then answered follow-up questions without hesitation. Witnessing that transformation reminded me that teaching is its own reward. Meanwhile, I continued to grow my YouTube channel. I introduced new segments, Live English Fix, where I paused a popular movie clip and explained the idioms and phrasal verbs in real time. Accent Adventures, where I traveled to nearby towns to record local accents, then challenged viewers to mimic them. Grammar in the Wild, informal chats in parks or coffee shops, breaking down grammar points in everyday settings. At 30, I embarked on yet another adventure, a 3-month teaching fellowship in Melbourne, Australia. I exchanged Tokyo's neon glow for Melbourne's street art and cafe culture. There, I worked with high school students whose first language was Vietnamese or Chinese. We turned graffiti-covered laneways into storytelling backdrops, Students wrote sentences on Post-its describing a day in their life, then stuck them to the walls. I filmed their reactions. We laughed when someone wrote, "I ride my motorbike to school," and we gasped when another posted, "I helped my neighbor translate her bank letter." These visual, tactile activities reinforced English in ways that textbooks never could. Throughout my time down under, I refined another layer of spell power: resilience. I learned that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Plateaus are normal. Frustration is part of growth. In one memorable session, a student named Min confessed she was ready to quit. We sat under the shade of a eucalyptus tree, and I shared my own low point in Osaka, the moment I almost walked off that TEDx stage. I described the pounding in my chest, the thoughts of turning away, and then the exhilaration when the audience responded. If I could do it, I told her, so can you. She nodded, and that week she recorded her first English vlog, shaky but sincere. By the end of the fellowship, she was leading her own study groups. Back in Toronto, I realized that my journey had come full circle, from learner to speaker to teacher to mentor. I launched an online community called English Trailblazers, uniting over 5,000 members from more than 50 countries. We held weekly challenges, use a new idiom today, read one paragraph from an English novel aloud, teach someone else a phrase, and shared progress via short video uploads. The sense of global camaraderie was electric. A learner in Brazil cheered on a student in Vietnam, who in turn congratulated someone in Poland. Borders dissolved in the rhythm of shared language. Reflecting at 31, I saw that my story wasn't about reaching perfection. It was about embracing imperfection. I compiled my final series, Flossom English, focusing on common mistakes that learners are ashamed to make, mixing up bring and take, confusing borrow and lend, misplacing stress in multisyllabic words. In each video, I demonstrated the error, then reframed it as a learning opportunity. I shared bloopers from my own early videos, reminding viewers that even a successful YouTuber had stumbled. One evening, I received an email that moved me to tears. It was from Aisha, a 24-year-old student in Cairo, who wrote, "Your story inspired me to leave a secure job to pursue teaching English. Today, I open my own small learning center for refugee children, and every time a child speaks a full sentence in English, I feel your spirit cheering us on." I realized then that the ultimate power of my journey lay not in the subscribers or the views, but in the ripple effect of empowerment. And so, my dear viewers and fellow learners, here is the heart of my story. Dream boldly. Your starting point doesn't determine your destination. Embrace mistakes. Each error is a lesson in disguise. Build community. Learning together multiplies progress. Share generously. Your story is fuel for someone else's courage. Persist relentlessly. Fall 7 times. Stand up 8 always. As you forge your own path, whether you're learning English, coding a new app, or mastering a musical instrument, remember that success is woven from countless small victories. Celebrate each one, the new word you used correctly, the compliment you received on your accent, the conversation you sustained for 2 whole minutes without reverting to your native language. If you're still with me, thank you. You've journeyed from the neon streets of Tokyo to the laneways of Melbourne, from the classroom in Toronto to living rooms across the globe. You've laughed at my mishaps, cheered my milestones, and in doing so, you've become part of this story. Now it's your turn. Share in the comments. What's one small step you'll take today toward your English goals? Maybe it's learning a tongue twister, writing a daily journal entry, or speaking to a stranger in English at your next meetup. Whatever it is, commit to it. Tag it with #SpellPower and let our community lift you up. If this story moved you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that bell so you never miss an episode. Share this video with someone who needs a spark of motivation. And above all, believe in yourself. You have the power to turn uncertainty into confidence, to transform hesitation into fluency, and to light up your world with the glow of new words. This isn't the end of the story. It's only the beginning. Wherever you are, whatever your age, whatever your background, know that your journey is unfolding. Embrace each chapter, write it boldly, and share it generously. Together, we'll spell success, one word at a time. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Keep believing in yourself, keep taking those small steps, and always remember, your story is just beginning.